how do we know we're in a left brain culture? How can we be absolute certain of such a thing? Because it's been proposed long before McGilchrist. People have proposed that this or that culture is left brain and some other culture is more right brain. Well, what does the left brain do? On this channel, I've talked about this so many times. It does a lot language, but one of its primary functions is to interpret the world around us and linguistically, via the voice in the head, give us that interpretation. And how does it do this? Well, it does it through a process of certitude. In other words, imagine a doctor. And this doctor came in and they said, look, maybe you have this, maybe you have that. And that would be kind of closer to reality. But what the left brain prefers is to just go in and say, look, this is what you have. Here's some pills and take this or change your behavior or your diet or whatever. And that just feels better to the left brain. See, these cognitive interpretations wouldn't be acted upon if they were just degrees of certainty. And if we heard something in the wind and the left brain said, well, that is a predator, we should run. And that's good if it's 100% and we run. But if we play the probability game, well, maybe, maybe not, it just wouldn't work. And so the programming of the left brain is absolute certitude. And with the nervous system, it always gives us opposing processes. It never seems to create this general all-purpose system. That's why we have a left and a right brain. That's why we have rods and cones, a sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. And on this topic, the right brain is the skeptic. It seems to take everything as a possibility. It's flexible, tentative, changeable, and we could say maybe much closer to reality. And this is, of course, the story of the Chinese farmer. Eckhart Tolle modified it a little bit if you haven't heard it. It's a really great way to summarize what the right brain does. And this guy wins his car in a contest, and everyone comes around and says, wow, you're so lucky. And so he's driving the car, gets into an accident, ends up in the hospital, and everyone says, oh, I'm so sorry to hear this. And he says, maybe, I don't know. And it just keeps going on. And like while he was in the hospital, his house had flooded, and everyone came back and said, it's so lucky you were in the hospital. And again, he just responds, maybe, over and over again, maybe, without any certitude. And you could see how that gets a little irritating to the left brain. Well, this is far more representative of how we used to debate and discuss. It was an element of maybe. And in academia, again, if you go into some really constructive criticisms, there's always a tone of maybe this is it, but maybe not. But we're just exploring reality. So, and then you don't get that left brain kind of like you're wrong. When the left, nothing seems more dangerous to the left brain than just coming out and saying, like, look, you're just totally wrong about all of your ideas. Well, part of what I wanted to do in this video is propose that maybe social media is acting like an interpreter, and it's strengthening the interpretations of the left brain because we get on very simple algorithms and we're fed more of what the left brain believes rather than questioning it. And when you start getting into other systems, these meta systems, you could say, well, artificial intelligence, it's so intelligent. Well, maybe it's not so much artificial intelligence as artificial interpretations, AI. With these artificial interpretations, what it's taking is it's taking all these left brain ideas with absolute certitude and creating kind of a meta system of meta certitude. And of course, that just digs us very, very deep into left brain belief systems rather than this much more relaxed, more reality-oriented maybe. And what are the odds of us ever really being absolutely certain about anything? And so, okay, maybe we are left brain culture because these interpretations and this feeling of certitude just seems to permeate so much of our discussions. And so what do? Well, one is maybe nothing. Maybe it's the will of God. Maybe it's consciousness playing a game, a far-out game, seeing how far it can get in our certitudes, conflicting with each other. And or maybe we can just have a sip of tea and sit back and watch the show. Or maybe we should do something to change things. Maybe.